What do you think about the intro, brother?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Totally my jam.
Love that. My buddy, he's another wonderful author, D.B. Rook, and that's his band Terminal Sun. He's in the UK.
Really?
But I'm just so excited to be here with you, man. Everybody, help me welcome. Wow, just totally blanked out of my whole head. Colin J.D. Crooks. It's a little bit of a mouth twister, but I really like how it looks bold on the page. But Colin J.D. Crooks, how are you tonight, brother?
I'm super awesome. Thank you for having me on, Beard. Really happy to be here, man.
Absolutely, me too. 1 second, fix the camera. All right. So, how was your day been? Where do you hail from tonight?
Tonight, I'm in Cumberland, British Columbia, Canada, right on the west coast on Vancouver Island.
Okay, so which one of the 50 states is that kind of? Is it roughly in a similar? I'm terrible with geology, so
it's the biggest one.
Okay, I got you.
Right up top, Canada.
Yeah, no, I know where Canada is, but I guess if I'm correctly, is it by one of the 50 states that I could, pick out of
right above California?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I was born in California. I don't remember it, but I would
love to. Is?
What is it?
Seattle.
Yep.
It's like 5 hours from me.
Wow. Okay, you are super. What's the time zone? Is it still Eastern?
Pacific.
Pacific,
yeah.
Of course. Why was I thinking Eastern? I don't know. Brain fart. Anyway, man, it's great to finally have you. We had a couple things planned in the past and things came up, but I've been watching your TikTok, man. I think it's really fun what you do. You represent yourself very professionally, and you do a proper representation of your book. And Arisen is dark epic fantasy.
Yep.
There's some fun inspirations I can't wait to ask you about. But where I would love to start with you, if you're okay with it, is kind of at the beginning. I love doing it this way because it kind of gives a well-rounded story.
Yes, it's great.
So when did you and where did you find your love for the written word?
From my father, like my father absolutely just fed me books as a young man, right? Showed me Neil Gaiman, like dark fantasy movies, right? Like when I was really young, I watched The Hobbit a lot and just read The Hobbit and just, developed an early love for books and fantasy movies and have just been consuming it ever since, right? And in elementary school, in grade 4, I wrote a little play that we forced upon our teacher, right? And I'm sure it was terrible, right? And then in high school, I wrote a couple of things, that were, epically painful, Shakespeare-inspired poetry.
Okay.
And then in my early 20s, I tried writing a book, an epic fantasy inspired by the Wheel of Time, right? And I got to the end of Act 1 and just had no idea where to go, right, with that.
Sure.
And then put it down. And then a few years later, really felt the need to just write a book, right? Because I'd always dabbled in, just like putting short stories together and got a lot of passion and love from it. So, yeah.
No, I like that you kind of, it wasn't one thing for you. So Shakespeare is one that is obviously taught throughout the age. It's been taught forever through school. And it's fascinating in many ways, but what kind of drew you to wanting to venture that and try and dabble in it as you did?
Oh, it was super popular when I was in high school, right? They were making all those Shakespeare spin-off movies, right? Like my favorite.
DiCaprio, right?
Yeah,
DiCaprio. Yeah.
Totally. Anthony Hopkins did a great one of Titus. And if you haven't seen that, you know exactly where George R.R. Martin stole that scene from.
Okay, I have to check this out now.
Oh, yes, totally. The pies.
Okay. I'm so lost right now, but I'm going to shake my head.
That's okay. It's not in the books. It's in the show. So maybe it was the showrunners that stole it from the books, right?
You know, the question is there even an original like thought left in the world? What's your opinion on that?
I definitely think there is.
You do? Okay. That's
But it
fascinating.
is like it's yes, things have been done before, but it's an amalgamation of those things that have been done before in a new way.
Okay.
Right? You know?
I totally agree with that. I think if somebody was to say, uh, I'm really inspired by classic and this is me personally. I love classic feeling fantasy that's adventure, even if it's a farm boy that's just, the total trope that has been, overused, but I don't feel it's been overused because it just tickles me. Literally, I feel it in my stomach. If I know that, for instance, like you've heard of Ryan Cahill's The Bound and Broken series.
Yep, it's on my TBR. I haven't read it yet.
Oh, man, if you are a classic, obviously you love The Wheel of Time.
Yeah, totally.
I feel, will find a lot that is pays homage to The Wheel of Time or George R. R. Martin, stuff like that. That's really epic, but it has that modern feel to it as well. That's not exactly the same, but just different enough to give him his own voice.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and it becomes so vast as well, and that's kind of a point that I wanted to hit with you. So you found your love through Shakespeare. You found your love through The Hobbit. How old would you say you were when you were like, I kind of dig this? My dad's showing me these books. These movies. How old were you around?
When I decided I wanted to write, or
no. Just when this inspiration was like, I really enjoy books. I really enjoy the imagination of books and movies, that type of thing.
Yeah, super young, right?
I'm jealous.
7 or 8, doing audiobooks before I could fluently read them, right? Like I remember cool. I was like listening to some Michael Crichton books, right, in my bedroom, right? And my mom comes in and there's the dinosaurs are ripping their guts out of these humans, and she's like, "Is that even appropriate?" I'm like,
I mean, that is
already done, Mom.
Objective, right? Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'd say Michael Crichton's one that I feel like I should start with Jurassic Park, but he has so many bangers. What I understand, there's just you can't go. So the reason I'm kind of saying it may seem like I haven't been a reader for very long. Well, you'd be right. I'm 34, and I started when I was 29. So that's why I said, hearing you found this when you were younger, like most people that I chat with. I find that very cool because I feel it gives your imagination that kick in the butt. It's a well-rounded muscle that's been flexed and built over time. For me, it's there. I just don't know that I'm getting everything that I would have gotten out of it if I would have started earlier.
Maybe. I don't know. Did you do a lot of daydreaming in high school?
Yeah.
I would say for me, that's where my writing inspiration comes from.
Daydreaming.
Is that ability to just gap out.
Okay. No, that makes total sense.
Yeah. And just let the movie projector play in my mind's eye, go through my story, and just, yeah.
I dig that a whole lot. Tim McKay in the comments, he's in Canada. It's really cool to think about, when you start to talk to people, authors, whatever it is, you find people everywhere, man. It's so cool. I think culture and geology has become something I'm very interested in, and I'm still terrible at, but I want to get better. Like the passion for that's there. But he is, I forget where you're at, Tim. Let me know in the comments. Brian, how you doing? The Renegade Bard, otherwise known as North Montana. Right.
Yeah.
Ithra, it's so good to see you here. Orphans are my trope crutch. Okay. Well, it's just good to see you here. I know you're often working. I love all your posts. You know this. She's an audio booth freak, and I get all sorts of TBR ads because of her.
Sweet.
Absolutely. Aren't those people the best? The TBR is never going to end anyway, right?
Oh, no, absolutely not. Right. And since joining TikTok, I have had an unbelievable number of good books recommended to me, Like, like before joining TikTok, I felt like I was in a reading slump where I had no idea where to go. I burned through all my favorite authors. And then, now I have more books than I know what to do with.
It's good too, because I mean, let's just say you're never running out of a story that you can grab on your shelf. That's a wonderful feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you covered a couple.
Yeah.
And if this is a redundant question, just say so. But I was just going to ask you, as far as authors or certain books, because I've had people say, not authors, but there are certain books that stand out. Are there any in particular, especially books that stick out that are like really inspired you to write? Not just love reading, but to write.
Absolutely. The biggest is probably Steven Erikson, right? And his Malazan series, right? Like I loved that series. I was super confused, completely lost for until book 4, had no idea what was going on, right? But just his writing style, his characters, that path of ascension, like everything about his writing was so beautiful and frustrating. And I wanted to emulate the feel of the world, the scope, and not have it be as confusing, yet still have it be you're blind to what's coming next, right? So yeah, his style was a really big inspiration for me.
I feel a couple things. Just I bought Gardens of the Moon, I would say, when I very first started reading fantasy, and I knew just from like reviews and people talking about it, this is not the first fantasy book you should read. So It's been on the shelf for a little while. I know I have the audiobook and I've listened to some of it, and I'm just like not ready. I mean, I've been intimidated.
Totally.
But I think I'm getting there. And I can't wait to understand exactly what you said is what I've heard a million times. I'm lost, but then everything starts to make sense. And because you trusted that Stephen was going to pull out for it, he's going to pull through for you, that after 10 books, you've stuck with it. It was totally worth it. And you feel the same way.
I definitely feel the same way. I have tried to reread the series and was unable to, because I just couldn't deal with the frustration 2 times in a row, even though I knew what was happening, right? So I'm looking forward to diving into some of his other books.
Yeah, I forget the other author that does it with him.
I can't remember his name either, although it's like 50% his world, right? So
yes, it's like they set out to do this epic thing, and I feel like they succeeded, because it's one of the most like split right down the middle type of series. It is. It's like some people just love just the favorite series of all time. Totally. Other people's like, dude, I'll never pick it up again. And I don't know where I'm at. I can't wait to find out. But it's cool to hear that that's a huge inspiration of yours.
Totally.
Would you say that Erikson has something like his hand in the way that you write? Would that be accurate?
No, I would say my style is definitely my style, right?
I love that.
Yeah, I've written other things, right? And like definitely, if I go and I read Jordan, I start to write more like Jordan, and then I need to take a reset, to just get back in my own style, right? Yeah, definitely.
I've heard that from authors as well, and I, just so you know, it's like I want to eventually publish a book. I want to write. All this is still very new to me. That's why I'm trying to learn as much as I can from people such as yourself, and I really enjoy it. But I really can't wait to just kind of get creative and make my own story. And but I totally blanked out where I was going with that. But
totally. like the 2 different branches, right? There's the architect, right? And then there's the Dean Wesley Smith, which is right into the dark, right?
I have no idea what that. I would love to know, though. I'd love to learn about
it. Dean Wesley Smith has courses about writing like a pantser, right?
Dean Wesley Smith.
And he hates that term. I hate that term, pantser, right? Just going by the seat of your pants. I don't like it. Writing into the dark is far more magical, and it's actually what it sounds like, where you're walking down a dark hall and you just trust that the next step is going to be in front of you, right?
Yeah.
You know, so he's got a whole course on that, and it's not cheap, but you know, I haven't taken it, but I've heard from people that have, that it's really, really worth it.
What was the other name? I've got Dean Wesley Smith.
And architect, right? So that's just like any sort of, you know, outlining that you do, right?
So it's funny.
That term was coined by Sanderson.
It's funny. And guys, I do apologize. I've got a new green screen on the way. It's just not here yet. This thing, I don't know. It's like, it's not one shade of green or something. It's weird. But anyway, it's coming. Sorry again. But one of the things that I always ask, and it's funny because you said you don't like the word pantser. That's definitely what I was going to ask you. What is it about the word pantser that is kind of not flowing with you?
I don't know. I just, you know,
just what it is.
You know, it brings to a visual image of a grumpy old man walking around in nothing but
it kind of does,
right? You know,
it does. I think I have to agree with you.
Yeah.
For me, this has kind of been my experiment lately, or at least I say lately, like I do it all the time. I haven't found a lot of time lately to do much other than what I'm doing right now, but because of the kids, very small, very demanding right now. But I would love to do more experience. Well, I tried pantsing, and as much as I know that there's so much creative freedom in that, I can't keep it cohesive. I cannot remember from day to day where I left off, where I'm going, and why. It doesn't work for me. So I feel like there's going to be a middle ground between pantsing and outlining, where vague plot points probably know the ending, but have that creative freedom between points, and I think that's what's going to work for me personally.
That is exactly what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like he's going to totally disagree with me. I love to hear that.
No, totally. That's exactly what I do. Some of the best scenes that I've ever written have come out of nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like, best feeling ever?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That, you know, like that. Yeah. Anyway, I won't say anything about what happens in the book, right? But you know, some of the best scenes I've ever written have just poof appeared, right? In just this caffeine fueled sprint. Yeah.
Excuse me. Caffeine fueled spread. Hey, I love that. Yes. I mean, that's real, right? That's real from the heart. I love it. Beltu, my guy Brian. I see Matt much more of a right into the darkness than a architect. I hope so. I mean, to be honest with you, everything is just so much newer to me as a person. I haven't found many people who started reading at the age of 29 and then all of a sudden wanted to write. That's kind of a late start, but there are a couple. I can't remember exactly who. I know I'm not the only one, but I want to make sure that I know at least. I have this imposter. I guess that's what it's called, imposter syndrome, where I start to think about writing, and I'm just like, Matt, hold on. You were 29 when you first started reading. You didn't take any schooling about it. What are you doing? You don't know what you're doing. And I psych myself out. Whatever if that's weak, strong, it does. That's what happens to me.
Totally. Just, you know, like we all struggle with imposter syndrome, no matter how far along you are, you know, and you just got to write, you know.
I love that.
See what happens.
So, you know? To the nitty gritty.
Sure.
It's always my favorite question, and to talk about your books. I always kind of like to get somewhat of a picture about your past before we go into it. But all right, let's hear about it. Tell us about the Shards of Etherious. You know, the books that are there so far, the plans for the future. your intended audience, that type of thing. Overview of what's going on without try to keep no spoilers if you can.
For sure. So the book starts out following Avatar Wrath, who is sent on a suicide mission to slay the goddess of nature. His plan is to destroy a city, kill the heads of state, murder the goddess, take her soul, feed it to the god of war, so he can transcend the mortal plane into the afterlife. And not everything goes according to plan.
Yeah. That's I have to say, it's a work of art to talk about your book without spoilers, because that's very hard. It is because there's different degrees of spoilers, and people are crazy about spoilers sometimes, right? And
I hate spoilers.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, wonderful job. I think that gives a good sense of what people are going to. It doesn't take long to get the feel of it. It's wonderful. So the first, so what did you publish first, Arisen, or tell everybody what the books are?
So the first book is Arisen, and then the second book is Blood Mage. I am working on the third book, Awakened, right now. There is Eclipse, which does not follow the main character, Roderick Corwin, but the main love interest, Cassie Forrester, and that answers questions that aren't answered in the main series about how she winds up in the situation she's in when her and the main character meet.
I have to. One of the coolest things that I've read lately, and I've never read anything like it, is the bioluminescent type feel, and it's very interesting to me because I don't know, in my head when I read something like that, just very vivid to me. Maybe it's because Avatar was such like a huge thing when I was graduating high school. That was the big movie, but always loved that. So the prequel novella, when did that come in?
That came in. I had already finished book. No, I put the prequel novella out for a mailing list sign up just before I published book one, and book one was published 2022, I think, maybe 2021, very tail end 2021.
The reason I asked is I thought a lot of the ways that I've seen it done is usually book one is out and then I love the fact that the prequel was available for the mailing list first. I love that because it gives people a sense of your writing, which, by the way, guys, my ticker down at the bottom has all of that information. Go check out sign up for the mailing list, prequel novella of Eclipse, so you guys can get a taste of his writing and go on if you love it.
Eclipse is a little different from the main series. The main series is grimdark military fantasy, right? And Eclipse is a grimdark thriller.
Okay.
Right? So, still fantasy, right? But it gives you a taste of the gods, a taste of the world, right? But it's a little bit of a different story, still set in the same world.
I love it. So as far as plans, do you have a set number of books that you want to write in this series?
I do, but I'm a plotter and a write into the dark. So my original plot line for the series was 5 books.
Okay.
Right? I sat down, wrote Arisen and Blood Mage, and now Awakened, and that is the plot line for my original book one.
Okay.
Right?
I get what you're saying. Yes.
So I came to these natural conclusions for Arisen and Blood Mage, and I just couldn't push it further forward. Right? So as it stands right now, my series is going to be 7 books long. And right. So I'm hoping that I can stick to it. Maybe it'll morph into more, but if it does, that might be for the better. Right. Yeah.
There's lots of that. And there's lots of fans of that. I don't think there's anything better to getting into a series that you just can't put down and knowing that there's more to come. It's very exciting for both the author and the reader.
Yep.
What's a candy you never can say no to?
a candy I can never say no to. Oh my gosh, that would have to be a chocolate eclair.
Okay, chocolate. Those are good. Yes.
Totally. Anything with whipped cream in it, I can't say no to.
I'm a Long John Donuts guy. I like those. Those
Yeah,
are good.
for sure. Those are amazing.
Yeah. Or Reese's. Reese's there. I like Reese's.
Mm-hmm.
I think my mom, every single Christmas and Easter and all that fun stuff, just drowned me in the 90s before we knew that you probably shouldn't do that to kids. So I'm addicted to the Reese's.
Yep.
What kind of hobbies do you have on the side? Or is writing just that's what takes up all your time?
Nope. I do karate, right?
Okay.
I recently got my brown belt and went and competed in a tournament in April, which was super great.
That's
You
epic.
know, totally. I didn't win any medals, but I finished all the fights and it was great.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun.
Go ahead, my bad.
Nope, that's cool.
Oh.
So yeah, I also try to weightlift, and my life is very much kid focused, right?
Yes.
Getting kids to swimming, getting kids, picking them up, right?
Yeah.
Taking them out to do fun stuff, right?
That's awesome.
We had the May long weekend. We built a box car, launched them down a hill, which was super fun with a bunch of
Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts? Boy Scouts?
No, we don't have that up here.
Okay.
Or if we do, my kids aren't part of it.
Gotcha. So I remember, the only reason I say that is I remember doing that in Boy Scouts. I wasn't in very long, but yeah, there's all those fun little projects are great, man. And you're taking the time, you're doing it. You were talking before we came on just how kind of life's really busy, right, with kids and being the family guy, and it's a really respectable thing. And but it's busy. It's busy, and you have to.
Yep.
You fit in what you can, and writing books in the midst of that. Dude,
I know.
I don't get it. I don't
I'm able to do it is I get up at 5 a.m. before my family's awake, and I just, I try to get the words in, right? And thank you, Chris Fox, for helping me finish my books, right? And that's the only way I've been able to do it, to just get all the stuff I want to do with my life in.
I know we went over the kind of writing process, but do you have daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals? Do you do any of that?
I do. I try to get 1,000 words a day, right?
I think that's realistic.
Yeah, totally. Any more than that, I just can't, right? Like a lot of more, like this morning, I just couldn't even get close.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. And I'm not emotionally flogging myself for it.
That's so important, because as humans, isn't it so easy for us to say, you just didn't add up today. Totally. So keeping that attitude where there's obviously big things happening in your life, there's important things. So if you don't exactly get to that 1,000, you're still writing books, you're still getting words down, but you're not beating yourself up if it's not exactly what you planned for your limit or your goal. So I respect that. So what's one thing you've struggled with as a self-pub author?
Yeah, probably quite a few things, actually. Okay. Right?
Definitely. I mean, yeah, that's what I hear most of the time. Like, it's not the easiest thing in the world.
No, totally. Right. Yeah, totally. Like, obviously the marketing, which is a completely different set of skills, right?
Yeah.
Getting the word out about the books rather than just writing this awesome book, putting it up on the store and, hello, nothing, crickets for, a long time. But, I'm slowly getting on board of the marketing, right? And like self-confidence is another big one, right? You write the book and you always question your decisions, right? Especially writing grimdark, because some of it can be quite challenging for people, right? And not everybody's gonna like it. And writing that style, you got to be okay with not everybody liking it, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that you're hitting an important part, because the confidence and the I've heard, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is I've heard a lot of authors kind of taking things, not not reading reviews because it's hard not to take it personal. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. When in reality, it's very subjective, you know.
For sure. For
I
sure.
mean, if not one of the most subjective pieces of art that you can use. I mean, it's a book. People, some people love romance, some people hate it. It's just it is what it is. So
Yep.
learning to deal with those inevitable roads that lead somewhere, it's nice to prepare for that. But I feel like you get that review or that fan that's like, dude, this is special to me. This has been a wonderful ride. That has to feel amazing.
It feels so wonderful. I've had so much amazing feedback about my book, right? You know, and it's, you know, just like the beautiful, wonderful things that people have said, you know, about my writing, about the world I've built, about the magic system that is in the book, you know, about the characters, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, so
Now you have awards, right? You have an award for this book.
I do. Arisen won 2 awards back in October. It won first place in military fantasy and second place in epic fantasy for the BookFest Awards. And I was actually featured on the NASDAQ screen in New York Times Square.
Dude.
Yeah.
Shout it, dude. I think that's amazing. I saw that, well, right when I first found your TikTok page, and I think that that's incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm pretty blown away.
Because, you know, what stamp of approval winning award, you know, I talked to another guy recently that's gotten a couple awards for his self-pub book, and it's just what it says to me is a publisher is usually behind somebody, not puppeteering them, I wouldn't say that, but there are certain things that they'll critique or maybe try to push you towards. So when you do everything yourself, marketing, writing, hiring an editor, hiring a cover artist, and then awards come out of that, you must, I mean, that's a pat on the back.
It is, absolutely. I jumped for joy and I drank a bottle of whiskey. It was fucking amazing.
Dude, yes.
Right?
Oh, dude, you say whatever the fuck you want on my channel, dude.
Woo!
Yes,
Totally.
sir.
Put on some In Flames and Meshuggah at the same time. It was like, ah!
Exactly. There's
Yeah.
This is laid back fun. We're all in the same mind frame. We all love the same thing, and it's 9 o'clock, so we're good, brother.
Totally. My wife waved the finger. She's like, whatever you do, don't swear on.
Oh no, you can swear
forever.
Talk the shit, man. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I mean, I'm drinking a beer.
Neat.
So it just doesn't bug me. That's what I do when I'm live. I like to have a couple beers.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I remember having one guest on, and how bad they felt because they cussed it. It made me feel so. I was like, no, you do you. That's what this is for you. We're talking about you tonight. So that's amazing. So what are you working on at the moment, and kind of what's coming up for you?
Right now I'm working like exclusively on book 3, which is Awakened, right? The way I've named my books is that they are all kind of stages in the main character's progression through the progression system, right? You know, so yeah, I am 95,000 words done, which is the length of book 1, and I pretty much just passed the 50% mark. So,
oh wow, that's amazing, dude. This is gonna be a chunker.
It's gonna be a thick book. Yes.
If I'm in a bookstore and it comes between 2 books and one's a chunker, one's not, I'm grabbing that chunker every time.
Me
I don't
too.
know why, but it's just there's depth in that.
Yep. So I'm really excited. I've been dreaming about the climax of book 3 for 10 years.
Okay, that's where it's at.
Totally. I'm really excited for these moments that are coming up, right? Starting to dream about book 4, right? And what happens there. So yeah, you know, and you know, just it's something completely different. I also write kids books, right?
No way. I didn't know that.
I do. And you know, I'm trying to find an agent for my kids books, right? You know,
I think that's amazing.
Totally. I got a couple like Robert Munch, right?
Mhm.
you know, and one that would make a really great Disney movie. But that's just my opinion. So,
Well, I mean, that counts. I think
yep.
that's incredible, dude. I think that to write kids' books is well, it's got to be a passion, of course, but also it's a different game. It's a way
Totally.
different game.
Yeah.
And I know only reason I know this because I read them every night to my kids, and it takes a special person. And what I mean is getting through to a child. There's a message to each book, and at the end they want these wholesome, great, good. Sometimes
Yeah.
how to deal with bad. Sometimes, and to get to that point and also get through to a kid is special, man. So I would love to read them to my kids. If you ever
Awesome.
shoot them my way, man, I'll definitely. I think that is incredible. So I think it's inspiring.
Thank you.
Of
Thank you.
course. So I'm excited for what's coming for you. I can't wait. I have not read Blood Mage yet. I cannot wait to dive in.
Yeah.
The review for Arisen will be dropped soon. I
Sweet.
started back writing my written reviews for Before We Go blog. I didn't have the confidence at first. I
Yeah.
started wanting to write reviews because I was very scared to do it.
Mhm.
I don't have a big issue with talking on a video about a book, but when it comes to writing down where people's like can kind of like analyze it,
Yeah.
but I'm getting better at it, and the self-confidence is coming, and I feel like maybe it's a little bit relatable to writing for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. The more you do it, the more self-confidence you get, the easier it, never really flows easy for me anyway, right? But I do have to edit things multiple times for me to be happy with them, to put them in a public domain.
I mean, that just means that that's your baby. I mean, you're taking care of your baby. You want the best possible thing to happen at the end, and that's respectable.
Definitely.
So excited for what's to come for you, and what's to come for. Honestly, I'm being selfish. Me, I get to read more books that I'm gonna really enjoy. Where can the people, the viewers now, and the ones that will watch on replay, grab your books and learn more about you, and throw any links you want? I think I've got everything in the description, but throw them out there too.
You can follow me on TikTok because that's awesome. And, I do stuff there talking about my book. My books are available on Amazon, right, through Kindle Unlimited, or you can purchase the paperback there as well. And my website is colinjdcrooks.com, where you can pick up Eclipse for free with a mailing list sign up.
I highly recommend you do that, guys. Having so much fun with the series. I do appreciate you being here. Let's full disclosure. It was very last minute, and Colin agreed to come on tonight. So I really appreciate you coming on, Colin, and kind of making time to come and hang out with me on my channel.
Oh man, it's been a blast.
Awesome. Hey man, it's been an absolute blast. And one I want to say, very very much looking forward to what's to kind of evolve with what you're doing. There's a certain point I think that every author kind of hits their sweet spot, and I just think that that's happening for you, brother.
I hope so. I've been working for a long time to make this happen, so it would be
That's
very
amazing.
Nice. Yes.
Yes, sir. Very inspiring. So again, thanks, man. Thanks to family for letting me hang out with you. You guys go check out the links that I'll have below. And until next time, let me think. When is the people who watch me know that I'm such a brain fart. I will post on Twitter. And by the way, my guy Colin is now on Twitter, guys. Go add him.
Yeah.
Follow whatever it is, because the community on Twitter is wonderful. Everybody over here in the comments is on Twitter. So you guys go at him, and he'll drop all the wonderful news about his books, and we'll all support each other because that's how it is.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Y'all have a wonderful night. We'll talk next time.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Good night.
Good night.